Her story takes place in the fall of 2007 and follows a seasoned truck driver named Jake. Jake has been driving trucks for nearly 20 years and thinks he has seen it all. But nothing could prepare him for what happened that rainy night on Highway 56. It was midnight, the road was completely deserted. The only sounds were the steady hum of the engine and the gentle hum of the radio. Suddenly, in the pouring rain, Jake saw a young woman standing on the side of the road. She was soaked and shaking, looking completely lost. Even though his intuition told him to keep driving, Jake pulled over to offer her a ride. The woman walked in, her eyes empty and her skin pale. She barely said anything, only mumbling, "Go home," when Jake asked her where she needed to go. As they drove, the atmosphere became even more unstable. The radio began emitting static electricity, and the temperature in the cabin dropped significantly. Jake glanced at the woman, but she was gone. Panic gripped him. He looked around frantically. Then, he suddenly saw her standing in the middle of the road ahead, her silhouette illuminated by the truck's headlights. Jake, terrified, tries to swerve around her but loses control and crashes into a tree. Everything goes black. He wakes up to the sound of sirens and sees himself being pulled from the wreckage by emergency responders. Shaken, he tries to tell them about the woman, but they exchange knowing glances. One of the responders tells him that years ago, a young woman had died in a crash at that very spot. Ever since, truckers have reported seeing her ghost, seeking a ride home. Jake, now a part of the eerie legend, wonders if he'll ever be able to drive that stretch of road without seeing her again. Second story is about Tom, a trucker who was bone-tired after hours on the road. It was nearly midnight and he desperately needed a break. He pulled into a rest stop that looked like it hadn't seen a visitor in years. The sign creaked eerily in the wind as he made his way to the restroom. Tom parked his truck and went into the restroom to relieve himself. Inside, the restroom was dimly lit and smelled musty. Strange, cryptic messages were scratched into the walls. As Tom washed his hands, the lights flickered, and he heard faint whispers echoing around him. He quickly finished up and headed back to his truck, but not before noticing an old man standing near the entrance. The man, with his unsettling grin and outdated clothes, warned Tom, "You should leave here now. It's not safe after midnight." Tom didn't think much of the warning. He was too tired to drive any further and decided to sleep in his truck for a little while. He figured he could rest for 30 minutes before hitting the road again. However, after about 15 minutes, he awoke with an uneasy feeling. Something didn't seem right. He checked his rearview mirror and saw a group of shadowy figures emerging from the darkness, moving toward his truck. His heart began to pound as he realized the warning might have been more than just the ramblings of a strange old man. Panicked, Tom floored the gas pedal and sped away, not daring to look back. The figures seemed to vanish into the night as he put distance between himself and the rest stop. Later, Tom learned from another trucker that the rest stop had been abandoned for years after a series of mysterious disappearances. Locals said that anyone who stayed there past midnight was never seen again. Tom was just glad he got out in time. The final story takes us back to the summer of 2010 and follows Lisa, a trucker known for taking on the odd jobs that others refused. She was offered a hefty sum to transport a large, mysterious crate to a remote location. The crate was a heavy metal box secured with multiple locks, and the sender gave her a set of keys to deliver to the recipient. The instructions were simple and ominous. Never open the crate, no matter what. The journey was expected to take 2 days due to the long distance. On the first day, everything seemed normal. Lisa drove through the day, passing through quiet towns and stretches of empty highway. She made occasional stops for fuel and food, always keeping an eye on the crate secured in the back of her truck. As night fell, she pulled into a desolate truck stop to get some rest. The wind howled outside, and the only light came from a flickering street lamp. She settled into her car, but curiosity began to gnaw at her. What could possibly require so many locks and such strict instructions? The crate had a small, locked window designed for viewing the contents. Lisa couldn't resist the urge to take a peek. She retrieved the set of keys and began trying them one by one, her heart pounding with anticipation. Finally, she found the key that fit. With the window unlocked, She peered inside but saw only darkness. Suddenly, a grotesque clawed hand shot out from the darkness, reaching toward her. Startled, Lisa screamed and reflexively slammed the window shut, locking it quickly. Her heart raced as she backed away, realizing just how dangerous her cargo might be. The rest of the night was a blur of unsettling sounds and the constant feeling of being watched. Shadowy figures seemed to move in the darkness around her truck, and she heard the chilling sound of claws scraping against the metal crate. Sleep was impossible. She spent the night in a state of high alert, gripping a flashlight and watching the crate intently. Desperate, Lisa tried to call for help, but her phone had no signal. The night seemed endless, filled with terrifying sounds and haunting visions. By the time the first light of morning crept over the horizon, she was exhausted but knew she had to press on. When she finally reached her destination, a remote and eerie location, a group of hooded figures awaited her. They took the crate and the set of keys, their faces hidden in shadow. They handed her the payment without a word, and as she drove away, she glanced back in her rearview mirror. To her horror, she saw the figures in the crate vanish into thin air. Haunted by the experience, Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that she had delivered something truly sinister. The chilling memories of that night stayed with her, and she vowed to be more careful about the jobs she accepted in the future. Forever changed by that nightmarish cargo, Lisa learned that some mysteries are best left locked away.